Buy it now. No interest for 6 months. Promo rate, same as cash. So what's the difference between all these different promo rates that these companies keep trying to get us to use to buy their products? Promotional rates, same as cash, deferred interest, no interest. What are they talking about? Well, stay tuned. We're going to fill you in on today's Delta Credit Tip. Hello and welcome back to today's Delta Credit Tip. I'm Michael Holmes from Delta Credit Restoration, bringing you yet more information to help you in your credit restoration process. Hopefully you'll find this information helpful today, and if so, give us that thumbs up. Don't forget to subscribe and hit the bell so that every week as we come out with more information to help you in your credit restoration process, you get that information as we produce it, use it right away, and get in front of that curve. So, we hear it all the time. No interest for 6 months. Promo rates, same as cash. What are all these different promotional rates really all about? And what are some of the pitfalls that we need to look out for if we decide that we want to use them? These are all great opportunities to prolong, using all of our cash to make purchases. And sometimes it's even opportunities to build your credit without having to pay the interest like you would with a loan. But there are pitfalls if we don't do it the right way. So let's go through some of these examples and we can start to explain and define some of these things that we hear on TV and in the newspaper and on the radio and all that other stuff, right? So let's first talk about the difference between zero interest and deferred. And word of caution, if you're getting into a relationship with a department store or a credit card, or something along those lines, you're going to really want to make sure that when you sign up for that credit card, or even before you actually sign up for the credit card, you get a copy of the terms and agreement that they legally have to give you at the time of application. This will spell out what they mean by their promotional rate. If there's ever any ambiguity as to what they really mean, it's got to be given to you in writing anyway. So make sure you get a copy of that and keep it for the entire duration of the relationship that you have, and then some in case they come back with something silly. Okay, so let's talk about the zero interest versus the deferred interest. So if you get a credit card and it's got a zero introductory rate, that means they are literally not calculating any interest during that time. So the law says that the minimum that they can give you is a 6-month term. But they can go as far out as they want, 12 months, 18 months, as long as that company wants to do that. And lately here with some cars, you can get zero interest for the life of the loan with the car. And that's truly a zero interest rate offer, okay? Most don't do that, however. Most have what they call a promotional rate of deferred interest, and this is what they call same as cash, okay? Where you have a certain amount of time to pay off that debt, but the debt is still being calculated, the interest is still being calculated on that debt. And if you don't meet the deadline, if you don't pay off that debt by the time that promotional rate is over, all the interest that was calculated is then added back to your balance. And typically it's from day one, okay? Because it's just been deferred until the point where you've reached the end of that promo period. And if the bill isn't paid, they're going to charge you all the interest, okay? So huge difference between the two, because in a 0% introductory rate, there's nothing to be added on when that promotional period is over. So you just basically start accruing interest as the credit card would normally do at that time that the promotion is over, whereas at a deferred or same as cash option, you're now responsible for all the interest that you would have paid, and it all gets piled back on top. And what really could hurt you in that situation is if the interest that they add on accumulates such that it now takes you over the limit. Now there's additional fees that you're going to be charged, and you just basically run the risk of not paying the card and having a much bigger issue because you've got an over the limit card and it's more than you can actually pay. Okay, so you've got to read those terms and agreement. And there's some other things that you want to look out for in that terms and agreement before you start making purchases. The number one question you want to ask is, well, what happens if I don't meet the deadline, right? That way, if you have any questions as to whether or not it's a deferred interest or a 0% interest, that will basically tell you that answer. But the second question you want to ask is, well, what happens with subsequent purchases? If I've got a 6-month promo rate and I buy something in month 3, well, is that added to the balance? And if I don't pay it off, like, how is that payment going to be applied? Is it with the first purchase, the second purchase, the third purchase? How are they going to apply that payment into which purchase? And then how is that going to affect what interest you owe after the promotional period? So you've got to ask, well, what's going to happen to those subsequent purchases that I make? The third question you might want to ask them is, okay, well, what transactions actually apply to the promo rate? Because a lot of times people will do this for a balance transfer, and that balance transfer may not necessarily apply. Or if you've got a department store card, maybe there's only promotional products that will apply to the promo rate. So you want to start asking, hey, is the purchase that I'm about to make, or the purchase that I plan to make, or purchases I plan to make, all going to apply to the promo rate so that I can get the best deal that I possibly can. So remember to ask those questions. You got to understand, again, the full relationship that you're getting into. No matter what, make sure that you hold on to that terms and agreement, because that's going to be the holy grail to the relationship that you have with that merchant, and understand the good, the bad, the ugly, and otherwise. All right. So again, hopefully this information helps. If so, give us that thumbs up. Don't forget, subscribe and hit the bell so that every week as we come out with more information to help you in your credit restoration process, you get it as we give it, and it helps you make a choice, make a change. Delta.